On November 4th, 2025, Zohran Mamdani walked on a historic stage in Brooklyn, New York, and delivered a 23-minute speech that went viral.
On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City.
In this video, we're going to look at what made that speech so powerful and how you can use those same tools in your own speaking.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
But first, let's do a quick outline that takes a snapshot of the rhetorical situation. We're going to look at what, who, the purpose of the speech, the audience, and the setting of the speech. Starting with what? We know that it is a scripted speech. He has a speechwriter, The Guardian, put a piece up about him, and he looks down at his lectern often. This is a live speech with a live audience. It's a victory speech. He's giving it by himself, so a solo speech. There's no one else he's talking to. It takes 23 minutes, 2,300 words, which puts it at 100 words per minute. The readability is about a 7th grade readability level, so it's not going to be a super complicated speech, but it will be a longer speech. Let's go to who. It's Zohran giving this speech. He was a New York State Assembly member. Born in Uganda to Indian parents, they moved to the US, settled in New York. He became a naturalized citizen in 2018, and shortly after that began to run for public office. He's 34 years old, so he's on the younger side, and that's often talked about in the public narrative. He's a democratic socialist, and he's a former rapper. The setting of the speech, it is in a historic Brooklyn Paramount Theater. Brooklyn is the most populous borough, so it makes sense for their team to do the election day work there, to try and get even more of that vote. It is on a big stage, and he's on that stage by himself with a lectern. There are flags on that stage. He's reading from teleprompters, and it's a large venue with what looks like standing room only. And then let's look at the audience. So we know that there's going to be a lot of his supporters there. We also know a lot of the people in the audience are going to be people who worked on the campaign trail. There may even be people who are uncertain. Maybe their friends invited them, and they just showed up to have a good time. And there's also people who are die-hard. So no matter what you say, they're going to cheer. And lastly, what could be the purpose? We'll figure out exactly at the end of the speech, but let's take a couple guesses. Victory speeches can be used for a couple things. They can hype up the base, call out opposition, instill optimism, or simply brag. And there's a lot of other ways to use a victory speech, but there's some that come to mind. So now let's start at the beginning of the speech. For the most part, I'm going to jump cut through the applause. That way I'm not taking a whole bunch of time just showing you applause. If you want to watch the speech, I'm taking it from Zohran Mamdani for NYC YouTube channel. It's the highest quality one I could find.
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it.
So he starts the speech with a Eugene Debs quote. Eugene Debs is a famous Democratic Socialist politician. He told his speechwriter that there has to be a Eugene Debs quote in there, and they start with one. It's one that instills optimism. But the first thing he says with his own words is interesting to me because he's immediately letting us know who this speech is for and who this speech isn't for. He does this with a juxtaposition of the wealthy and then comparing them to the working class. So he says, for the longest time, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and well-connected that power doesn't belong in their hands. And then he starts this hand image, fingers bruised from lifting boxes on warehouse floor. So he's talking to the warehouse workers. palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, talking to the delivery bikers, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns, talking to people who've done food service. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power, but the future is now in our hands. We have grasped it. So it's this hand image going through different parts of the hand as different people in the working class. And this is going to be a big theme of his speech, is encouraging the working class and saying it's going to be a lot better for them, and then going after the wealthy and well-connected. We could kind of expect that coming from his campaign, but it's a great way to set up a speech because it creates a us and them, which allows for tension. You can go after them while building up and encouraging us.
On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City. And that is because of you. So before I say anything else, I must say this. Thank you. Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refuse to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past.
And for the next 5 or so minutes, he goes into detail of how broad this group that he's referring to is. And I see this often in political speeches. They mention these characters with various backgrounds so that they can relate to the audience as well as they can. Just imagine sending a whole bunch of satellites out to pick up all the signal possible. For instance, he says to every New Yorker in Kensington, in Midwood, in Hunts Point, to the Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers, Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks, Ethiopian aunties. This is a great instance of audience recognition because when you're giving a speech, it's not about you, it's about your audience. So if you're letting your audience know, I know who you are, then there's more likelihood that the message is going to resonate with them because there's a little bit of relationship. So the Yemeni bodega owners and the Senegalese taxi drivers, they're like, that's me, right? And the message is going to resonate with them. And this is something Obama did really well. In his 2004 DNC speech, he talks about his mom from Kansas, his dad from Kenya, how he grew up in Hawaii, how he went to Columbia Law School. It's this example of the melting pot. And speaking of Obama, let's look at the next theme in this speech.
Tonight we have spoken in a clear voice. Hope is alive. Hope is a decision that tens of thousands of New Yorkers made day after day, volunteer shift after volunteer shift, despite attack ad after attack ad. More than 1 million of us stood in our churches, in gymnasiums, in community centers, as we filled in the ledger of democracy. And while we cast our ballots alone, we chose hope together. Hope over tyranny. Hope over big money and small ideas. Hope over despair. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible. And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something that we do.
Obama talked about hope a lot, and here Zohran's talking about it, and there's a reason why. Hope is an example of a God term, and a God term is any word that automatically instills positivity. It's something that isn't questioned. Regardless of the culture, we know that it's a good thing. He says hope almost 10 times in under a minute. He uses it as both a verb and a noun. For instance, hope over tyranny, hope over big money and small ideas. And then he says, we won because of the New Yorkers that allowed themselves to hope. So a verb use. I'd put using God terms in the pathos bucket, and you can do it in any speech. For instance, freedom, justice, progress, love, grace, hope. All of these things are great things, and we all want them. You don't really have to justify yourself, you just say them. On the flip, you also have devil terms. For instance, racist, terrorist, tribalist. Words you don't want to be affiliated with, and you don't really have to explain why. And this is the next big theme. The first is talking about the New Yorker, the working class, how they've done it. The next is talking about this new age, this new New York, this hope, this optimism for the future. And then it turns.
Now I know that many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality. and to convince our neighbors that this new age is something that should frighten them. As has so often occurred, the billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour. They want the people to fight amongst ourselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long broken system.
He uses the phrase, the prism of misinformation. Misinformation is not a God term. It's a term you don't want to be associated with. Everybody knows that misinformation is bad. Like, as humans, we want the right information. We want honesty. We want integrity. But what misinformation also does is it removes the responsibility of all the information the other side has gotten. And so, like, hey, if you don't like me, that's not on me. It's because the person who gave that info gave you the wrong info. They spun it the wrong way.
After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one.
Super interesting. So calling out Trump directly, he does it a lot more, but he talks about, well, he refers to him as a despot, but he talks about the next one. This isn't just about Trump, but the next one. The next one is a really vague thing. The next one could be anything. And whenever you're giving a speech, you get to introduce a villain, a very vacuous villain, to put up against, to create even more tension, to build up the heroism, to build up like, hey, this is going to be a fight, but whoever that next one is going to be. It can be super effective. It can also be super dangerous because you can lump whoever you want into that frame of the next one. Oh, he's the next one. Oh, she's the next one. But therefore, it can also be really helpful for your cause because there's always going to be enemies. If it isn't Donald Trump, we know there's going to be a next one. So we can't slack off. We have to make sure we're really on this.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Over 15 seconds of applause right there. And this is one of the big crescendos of the speech, talking directly to Donald Trump. If you're watching, turn the volume up. A great hero is only as good as his villains. So calling out Trump directly is a big home run here. Even if he's really not going to go against Trump in the day-to-day, to go into a speech and say, hey, my big villain is the big president of the United States, that's a no-brainer for him. And shortly after he talks,
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
His pacing is super good here. His pacing is paravocalics, really going up at the very end. And then the repetition of the immigrant, the immigrant, the immigrant. This is a sequence of progression. This is the rags to riches. This is the beginning to end. This is the narrative framework that we love to hear. Hey, it's going to be a city that was built by an immigrant, powered by an immigrant, and now led by an immigrant. And then
President Trump, when I say this, to get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
there you go. So who is us? Us is New York. Us is his faithful. That's the beauty of using the word us, of using the word we. And you especially see it in how he ends the speech. So ending a victory speech is hard. It's hard to land the plane because you're hyping people up a whole bunch and you want to have an intentional ending. Watch this.
Together, New York, we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... Let the words we've spoken together, the dreams we've dreamt together, become the agenda we deliver together. New York, this power, it's yours. This city belongs to you. Thank you.
Super good ending. The call and response, that had to feel so good as the speaker to hear the crowd coming on. And he's expertly spinning this web of agency. He's saying, New York, this power is yours, when really the power is his. He's the one who's going to be the mayor. No one's sitting in this crowd. I mean, potentially other people who are part of his campaign team who are actually getting elected positions or appointed positions. No just random fan sitting in this crowd is going to have any more official power starting January 1. Eventually, if his administration comes up with new programs that benefits them, then sure, it's better for them. But it's so easy to get sucked into this like, oh, we did it. Now we're going to have such a better life. When it's like, well, honestly, it's wait and see. And it's not just Zohran, but this is all of politics. Everyone who gets appointed to office is going to thank their base, and it's going to tell them like, hey, we did it. It's going to be a lot better for you now. But truly, wait and see is the answer. Overall, I give the speech an A. He did an expert job. Shout out to his speechwriter. I know his speechwriter put in the time, and it was certainly worth it. Zohran delivered it perfectly. Comment below what you think about the speech. Maybe I missed something. If you've watched the speech, maybe you think I'm wrong. Tell me that too. This speech reminds me a lot of Obama's speeches. So this next video is going to be an analysis of the speech that made Obama president. Thanks for watching.